All right, and we have on set the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, John Mbadi. Karibu sana, Citizen Weekend. Have you been here on a weekend before?
I can't remember when
Usually
I
was see you as CS sana sana with Sam Gituku.
Yeah.
So
no, weekend, I don't think I've been here.
Good to have you.
Yes.
Good to have you on. All right, so the latest that has happened, that has got Kenyans talking, has to do with the Eurobond. And there was a post that Kenya raises $1.5 billion US, which has been roughly converted to 193.5 billion shillings at lower cost. And the Treasury says it allows us to pay the old debt early. Now, this has to do with the Eurobond. So the statement posted on your social media reads, the government has successfully raised this amount from international investors and at the same time tendered to pay off the outstanding $1 billion USD of the 2028 Eurobond ahead of schedule. Please explain this to us. Are we borrowing to pay back debt?
Thank you very much, Olive. First of all, let me put it that I think this was very successful for Kenya to go to the market at this time and raise that kind of money from the international market. It clearly demonstrates the level of confidence that the international community, the investors, have on Kenya. And again, I want to point out very clearly that we offered 1.5 billion, but the interest was up to 7.5 billion, 5 times, which is a rare feat. But let me now just explain what this means. You see, Olive, we have been struggling as a country with the maturing or maturity of the debts. Most of the debts of the Eurobond, the commercial debts that were taken within a period of time. And so their maturity is coming almost at the same time. Remember, we had the 2024 Eurobond of 2 billion. US dollars that was falling due last year. And then there is one that was falling due in 2027. That was 900 million. Then we have 2028, 1 billion US dollars. And then we have 2029. And then we have 2031 and 2032. Therefore, we needed to be careful because last year, since the government didn't take steps to deal with the Eurobond that was falling due last year, or maturing last year, it sent a wrong signal to the market that Kenya was likely to default. And actually, we would have defaulted if there was no action that was taken or if the markets didn't open up. And that is what caused the shilling to drop in terms of depreciating value. And that, again, had all the consequences of a weakened shilling, which even increased our external debt by 1 trillion shillings without taking even any extra loan, if that continued. Now, by managing that liability, we got a reprieve. Now, this time round, we decided to be proactive. So we did 2 things. Number one, the Eurobond that was falling due in 2027, the 900 million US dollars, we decided to go to the market in March this year, and raised another Eurobond that now would smoothen the curve. That is what we call it, because there is a period that we don't have the commercial debts, but we have so much commercial debt falling due at the same time. Now, so we smoothened the curve and dealt with the 2027 Eurobond so that we don't put a strain on our economy, which then would put a strain on the shilling and the exchange rate with all the consequences. So what we have done again is not to wait until too late for the 2028 Eurobond. And that is why we went to the market at this stage. And we went to the market because the Kenyan credit rating went up. That's number one. And that had the consequences of reducing the yield on our Eurobond. The rates, the percentages. I know this is a very technical.
Yeah, explain it to me like I'm Wanjiku.
I'm actually putting it the simplest way I can. That the yield fell, meaning because the credit rating was better, the confidence level had risen. Now, the costs of servicing the Eurobond fell, and the market opened for Kenya. This is the right time to go to the market. And we went to the market because we have the 2028 Eurobond falling due, we decided to deal with it. And we floated the Eurobond in 2 tranches. So the 1.5 billion Eurobond, 750 is a 7-year Eurobond, which we will be repaying 250 million US dollars per year, terminating in 2032, meaning 2030 we pay 250 only. 2031 we pay 250, and 2032 we pay 250. Now, the other one is 12-year. 12-year. 750, which then now will terminate in 2037. So we will pay from 2038. So we'll pay it from 2036, 250, 2037, 250, and 2038, 250. That is easier as opposed to waiting for a $1 billion US dollar bond and paying it once. It puts a strain on the economy. Let me just go back a little bit. When we liability managed the 2027, the $900 million, we paid about 600 million out of it. So the remaining 300 million, 100 million we paid this May, last May. Next year we'll pay another 108 million, and then we pay another 108 million in 2027. That is easier as opposed to paying 900 million at a go, because that would put a strain. We would basically be servicing debt and not doing any development. Okay. By smoothing it, we are managing the rate at which we are paying the Eurobond. But there are those who are watching, who are wondering how, those of us who are not too well versed with financial matters, we are wondering how, just common sense level, how strategic is it, or how wise a move is it to pay debt by taking on more debt? No, we are not taking on more debt. We are smoothing the debts. You see, Olive, we have debt pressure already. You can't run away from it. The best thing to do is like you have a peak of a mountain. You dig it to level it so that it can be smooth. So what we are saying is, if you have so much debts falling due within a period of time, you can smooth it in a longer period of time. All right. So that is what we are doing. That is what we call liability management. All right. Because, again, we don't have that economic capacity to come, if we had maybe assets or we had gold, we would extract or sell assets and go and pay off the debts. But we don't have that luxury. So since we don't have the luxury, the best way to deal with debt is to manage the debt. All right. And will the taxpayer feel it? Because I'm looking at the end of your statement here, and you say, this success means Kenya will spend less on interest, ease pressure on taxpayers, and keep the economy stable while creating room to fund development such as roads, health, and education. When you spread a liability over a long period of time, even if you go to the bank and take a 10-year loan, the rate of payment and the servicing cost gets cheaper as opposed to if it is a 3-year loan. Secondly, I want to also mention this because I don't want to forget it. We are not just dealing with that. There are also more expensive debts, the syndicated loans. We had a loan with the TDB, which was falling due last month in September, and we paid 61 billion shillings. We wanted to refinance that loan, but because the interest rates that were being offered to us was higher than what we would accommodate, we decided to pay it off, and we paid off from domestic revenue. So as we speak, we successfully serviced the TDB loan, which fell due in September, 61 billion. So even as we deal with Eurobond, we are also dealing with other loans, and we are dealing with domestic debt. And I will tell you where we are is far much better than where we were last year. All right. So how much debt there's a time there was a task force which was formed to look into the level of our debt, the amount of debt that we owe. Where are we at now? There was no task force. Actually, because of the doubts that Kenyans had on our debt levels, even though the records for our debts is a public document, you just go to a website of the National Treasury and you will see the kind of debts that we have. And I would, if I knew that was a question that we were going to deal with, because today I came specifically on economic planning. All right, okay. But again, I want to just mention that we decided to ask the Auditor General to come and do the audit, which she hasn't completed. Once she's done, and you know I can't put pressure on the Auditor General because that's an independent office. So once it is done, Kenyans will know publicly what is our level of indebtedness, or who do we owe money, and in what, how much, and how much is the servicing cost.
All right. So this talks about easing pressure. We're in a situation where we are seeing lecturers have downed their tools and they're saying they're owed money. The figure is currently in dispute. We've seen healthcare workers in Kiambu be on strike, I believe, for 128 days now. So does that have to do with delays in disbursing monies to counties? And then there's also demands for capitation. Are we facing a cash crunch as a country?
I think we are better in terms of cash management today than we were even 2 years, 3 years ago. So there is no question of cash crunch. Olive, I will tell you, the issue of Kiambu, if it was all the counties...
And even for Sha, sorry.
If the issue of Kiambu, if I may start with that, if it was a question of delay in disbursement of funds, it would be the 47 counties, but it is Kiambu. So that must be a unique issue around Kiambu, and I may not have answers to that. But let me just tell you that 2024-25, end of June, is the first year, I think, in the entire period we've had devolution, when the national government has transferred money 100% to counties. We have already transferred money for July and August to counties in full. And I will tell you, if you look at the accounts of counties, they have huge cash balances in county revenue funds. So there is no question of cash crunch, cash problems. So counties, the only month that we have not given disbursed to counties, which we are going to do very quickly, is the month of September, which just ended the other day. And we will make sure that counties receive their allocation. When you come to the issues of CDF, we have started disbursing money to constituencies, and I've promised constituencies that we will disburse the full amount, 58.4 billion, in full this financial year before it ends, or it comes to an end. And GAF, which is 4 billion, we disburse 2 billion, 50%. I will tell you that we don't have any processed pensions awaiting payment. We have paid all of it. And we are paying salaries in time. And I will tell you that with this month, we have given the authority for MDAs to start advertising development expenditure programs. The roads, I have already given the approval. They are going to be up this month, and we are going to finance them. So there is no cash crunch. In terms of talking about the lecturers' strike, I don't think the problem is the Treasury. The problem with the lecturer strike is a lack of understanding with the ministry and SRC. They need to sort it out there. We, last year, entered into an agreement, and we gave the allocation as we agreed. 4.3 billion that we signed that would give last year, actually we gave it with under Article 223. And we regularized it in the supplemented budget. This financial year, we committed to release 2.7. We have already released the money early, before when the year began. Although the money was supposed to be released throughout the year, but we decided to release it in full. I will also mention to you that the question around how much was owed, because what now I hear, I have no facts about these things. It is with the Ministry of Education and Labor that there were amounts that were supposed to have been paid between 2017 and 2021. I don't know what lecturers were waiting for. If these monies were supposed to be paid in 2021 and they were not paid, I don't know why they were waiting for 2025 to raise those concerns today. But anyway, it is still a going concern. This is one government. This is a government that is continuing. We have to deal with the baggage of the past. But let them agree with the Ministry of Education on how much is owing to them. On capitation, I will tell you, yes, we have been releasing capitation in full, as we agreed, 50, 30, 20%. However, there has been a question of underfunding of capitation, and I've spoken to this. Sometimes when I spoke about it, I don't know whether people didn't understand me or they decided not to understand me. I said that if you get the full amount for capitation that is required, it has not been provided for about 7 years. And so we identified this as a problem, and we are dealing with it. Actually, the government is very clear. The president has given express instructions to me and the Minister for Education. We have already calculated and tabulated how much is actually needed. which should be put in the budget to bring capitation to full and optimal release. But the money that was in the budget we are releasing isn't full. We are just trying now to regularize and have the actual amount so that we don't have this question where after releasing all the money, you still hear principals and head teachers of institutions saying that we owe them money. And surely, if you calculate the number of students they have in the schools with the capitation per head or per capita, then the amount released to them is less. Yet the government has already released the full budgetary support. Because education is critical for this government and critical for the people of Kenya, we have decided to work out these numbers and get the correct amount for capitation.
All right.
So these are things that we are correcting, mistakes that have been committed over the years. And you know, when you correct them, it appears like this government is the one that is not doing it. The truth is that in those many, many years, we have been living a lie. You go to schools, you are told that you are owed, they are owed money for the year 2020, 2021, 2022. And it is true that if you calculate the number of students they had in school, multiply by per capita, or per child, or per pupil, per student rate, then they were given less. So that is what we are trying to avoid now. Going forward, we make sure that we get the correct capitation to schools. All
right, so I'll put a pin in the SHA, the payments for 10 claims below 10, is it 10 million and below 10 million shillings, and then the question of e-procurement. But first, let's get into the CI, County Integrated Development Plan, CIDPs.
Yes.
So there is capacity building that is supposed to start tomorrow. On this question to address monitoring and evaluation, to capacity build the counties on the developments of the County Integrated Development Plans. And it begins tomorrow, officially will launch on Tuesday in Busia County.
Yes.
The question is, why now? Because we are in the 2023 to 2027 CIPD and even medium term.
So I want to explain that first, this country has not for a long time treated planning as a serious exercise in governance. If you check, you'll find we have Public Finance Management Act governing all the public finance management issues. And we have Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act governing the public procurement. But there is nothing like an act of parliament for planning purposes or government development plans. And that is why, under my ministry, we are working on a bill for planning, because planning is important. It has been overused, but this is the word, that if you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail. So planning, the serious planning took place in this country in the first administration of President Kenyatta the Senior, during the period when Tom Mboya was the Minister for Economic Planning. And then we saw, again, serious economic planning around the time Kibaki was the president, when Professor Peter Nyang' was the Minister for Economic Planning, and a little bit when Wycliffe Oparanya was the minister. During these other intervening periods, planning has been like a footnote. In fact, National Treasury has been just about National Treasury. There's no economic planning. We want to elevate planning as a component of governance and managing our resources. Because again, budget should be informed by plans. And over the period, we have not had these clearly defined plans. But more importantly, as we think about the national plan, and you know we have the national agenda, where we have Vision 2030. Mm-hmm. We also have the medium-term plans. We have bottom-up economic transformation agenda. That is the national economic plan. But then the counties are working, preparing every 5 years, county integrated development plans, the CIDPs. How synchronized? Yeah? How you find they are so fragmented. There is no linkage between the national plan, yet we have a shared vision as a country. We may be 47 counties, but where is it? Where the national government and the county government is actually one, in the sense of serving the same people, same shared vision, same shared agenda. But we have not had cases where we look at the integration of the county integrated development plans with the national plan. So what we are doing right now is we are launching a program where we are training the county planners, the county policy makers, because that is a responsibility which is given to the national government. If you look at the Constitution, Schedule 4, it talks about national government having a responsibility of giving capacity to counties and technical assistance. And that we have not been doing. We have just been complaining about how disjointed county plans are. So we at National Treasury, Ministry, State Department of Economic Planning, under my watch, we have decided to go to the counties and do capacity building. To who? To county directors of planning, to leadership of county governors in terms of economic advisory team, and also we are going to train the chairs of county assembly, finance and planning committees, and we will also train the national government planning officers. And this is something that is going to take 2 months. We are starting the first phase tomorrow, which will run up to 18th. Then the second phase will start from 9th to 22nd. We are launching it officially on Tuesday in Busia. And then after that, we'll move to Gishu. What we have done is to cluster the country into 4 clusters.
By region. By
regions. There are 47 counties. So the training will take place in all the counties. We want to give the capacity to these planners so that we have integrated plans, which then now will feed. We are going to train them in planning, and we are going to train them in budgeting. Budgeting must be evidence-based. So you cannot have a budget that is evidence-based without a plan, because a plan will inform the evidence. Then we are going to do monitoring and evaluation. That is another training point that we are also going to do, because we have a policy that was passed in 2022. That is monitoring and evaluation, national monitoring and evaluation policy. But that policy has not been cascaded, has not been understood. And the tools that we are putting in place, the county integrated monitoring and evaluation system, and we have the national tool. We want to link these two so that it is clear on how to monitor and evaluate, the performance of our budget. Because then is when you determine the level of satisfaction of Kenyans in terms of service delivery, and whether we are using, there is value for money when we are spending our budget. Mm-hmm. So that is the essence of this training. This is something that should have been done way back. Now you're asking me, why now? Why now is because I don't want to wait. I have come in, I have seen a gap, and we want to make sure that that gap is dealt with. All
right, but when will the benefits accrue? Because we're already, as I mentioned, in the 2023-2027 medium term, and we're also in the 2023-2027, 2023-2027 CIDPS.
But you see, Olive, when we do the training and give the capacity, and then have the counties now working on the integrated plans, and the national government, and this is synchronized, and now we can link the various government policies to the county plans. The benefits is not supposed to be just an instant coffee. The country should benefit over the period until eternity. So we are starting the process so that the next budgeting cycle, all the plans will be integrated, so that going forward we have one country in terms of integration of the plans, and then we have a budget that speaks to the plans, and then we have monitoring and evaluation. So it is not something that we are doing just for us. Even the future governments will now be benefiting. If this was done earlier, we would be benefiting from it. But we can't just sit here and say that since things have not been done previously, we don't want to do it now. That is why we are putting these officers to do things differently. So it is something that we are implementing to make sure that our plans are synchronized, there is integration of planning in this country, and that there is proper use. We avoid duplication. Because at the moment, when counties just start throwing developments here and there, and the national government also throwing the same development, you will find there is even duplication in implementation of development in the counties.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So this is about synchronizing policy, plans.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
So what is it? Section 108 of the County Government Act of 2012 already gives guidance, talks about provision for monitoring and evaluation, clear reporting mechanisms. But this county the monitoring and evaluation system, is it EMIS?
I mean, you're talking of electronic county in
yes, CIMES.
Yes,
County Integrated Monitoring and Evaluation System. Has it been tested? Because already we saw with e-procurement, counties were saying this system does not work.
You see, these systems, you know, sometimes you also test the system by rolling it out. And that is a problem that I find with the users of systems. You cannot classify, categorize a system as not working without testing it. We have done pilot testings for these systems, but now we roll them out. If there are challenges, you deal with those challenges, including the e-procurement. I think maybe I'll come back to it. So this system is working. The one for the national government is working. We just now need to use them. We have a lot in that act that are there in paper. For example, there is the steering committee, which should be co-chaired by CS National Treasury and Economic Planning, and also the chair of Finance and Planning Committee of the Council of Governors. We want to make sure that this committee gets busy, gets active, to make sure that we monitor and do the monitoring and evaluation of implementation of budgets and plans in the country. So this, you can have good provisions in law, but if they are not implemented, then you would not succeed. So we are starting to implement some of these initiatives, good initiatives that are in law and systems that we put in place. I don't see why this one should be rejected or opposed or resisted. At least I could understand why e-procurement was resisted.
Tell us, why would you understand that?
I understand that because it was disrupting the status quo and making people uncomfortable. You know, there are people who have been profiting from manual systems that are less transparent, less accountable. So you would not expect them to let go. They would tell you that the system is not working. They would resist even using it. Actually, the biggest challenge EGP has faced is lack of commitment from procuring officers. They don't want to implement it. But we are very clear that that must be implemented, and it is rolling out very well. So
counties are now on board, or what is the situation?
Most counties are on board. I will tell you many counties. You go to the EGP platform, you will see so many counties, the portal. So many counties have onboarded their annual procurement plan, and they can procure. Right from Lamu, Kilifi, I know Makueni, I know Muranga. In fact, the county government of Muranga should be given a medal. They are so committed to this system. Busia,
but have they been able to undertake procurement?
You see, you know, Liv, that is where you make mistake. You know, you are looking at this like an exercise that should be started and concluded somewhere. It is not like so. The hours end when you put your annual procurement plan. When you decide to procure, that is your business. Not everything that is in the plan has to be procured now. You can procure one in April next year. If you don't want to procure, you don't have to use the system. But what we are saying is, have you onboarded the budget? Most procuring entities have onboarded their budgets. They are now on EGP. Have you prepared annual procurement plan? Yes, many procuring entities have done so. So you can now proceed and advertise and do your procurement. Many entities have procured through EGP. But we are not forcing you to procure. You know, it's like you're asking me whether the entire government should procure everything that they wanted to procure in a day. It will not happen that way.
Okay. So because counties are saying they have been unable to undertake procurement because of the insistence on EGP.
Which counties are these? Many counties are I have just told you, Muranga County is even where they face challenges. They literally call us to even give them our officers to help them. That's the way we should go. Because this is a new system, people can have challenges. But if you are open and willing to embrace it, we will support you. We have a whole floor in Kenya School of Management, a whole floor to deal with those challenges. We have staff, we have trained people, we have clustered the counties and given specific officers. We have communicated the same to those counties. Even MDS, we have done the same. Most parastatals are now onboarded. So what is this talk about we can't? There could be challenges, like we have faced challenges under the Roads Ministry where, for example, there are some additional information that should have been factored in the system. Like you see, for example, a road from Nairobi to Nanyuki. You need even to define that the road is running from Nairobi to Nanyuki. The system didn't capture that. But the system developers are available, and anytime we face such challenges, they come in, they step in, and they help solve them.
All right. Lastly, I had put off the question of SHA when we're talking about cash crunch.
What about SHA?
We've had RUPA, which has said that the president has instructed that claims from 10 million shillings and below should be paid out. Will that be done? Has that already begun?
Well, I think something you need to understand with the SHA is that SHA is a state agency and they have their funding. Mm-hmm. I may not have the full details of what they do. I know the president made that decision, but the president made that decision after careful consideration. The numbers have been worked out, the figures are there, and it has been agreed that anybody owed, any facility owed below 10 million, even if it was under NHIF. Actually, these debts are NHIF debts, that those should be paid. Out of the 32 billion owed through NHIF, a lot of them are under 10 million per facility, that those ones should be paid. I know the SHA board, the SHA CEO, and the team are preparing and processing payment. That payment doesn't have to come from National Treasury because SHA is an independent fund. Oh. What we do is we support SHA. We have a budgetary support where we have put 13 billion, but we'll have to increase it to support primary health care, because that must be provided for free. That's what the president is talking about, that hostels at the level 4 downwards should charge 0 when you go in and out. That is, if you are not admitted, that it should be free. That is primary health care. Then there is emergency, chronic, and critical illnesses. Again, we have 8 billion in that fund to support those Kenyans who have those long chronic illnesses that are very expensive to treat. Again, that is the support that we give SHA, but we transfer the funds to the SHA, and then SHA would... the
only reason I was asking you that is because RUPA wrote to the CS, Honorable Aiden Duale, your counterpart in health, yes. And they said RUPA takes cognizance of the request that you have made today to the Treasury CS, John Mbadi, to make available 5.3 billion shillings to clear SHA liabilities that it had inherited from the NHIF.
Well, if the request is made to us to give more budgetary provision, we will support, because the president has already made a pronouncement, and actually I told you that SHA, we still have to support SHA with more funding.
All right.
This is a government agenda, a government policy that must succeed, because Kenyans' healthcare is very critical, and this government has taken a bold step. I don't think there is any government in Africa, I don't know, which has taken bold step to provide universal health cover. The challenges notwithstanding. And many governments have talked about this. Remember the times of Ngilu. It has been shelved. Remember Uhuru Kenyatta tried it, shelved it. This administration of President Ruto is implementing it. However difficult, we will make sure that we implement it, because a healthy nation is a productive nation.
All right. So on account of time, I'll have to press pause on the conversation we've had with the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is National Treasury and Economic Planning, John Mbadi. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us this evening. We await the launch of the capacity building on CIDPS and the outcomes and how the taxpayer will benefit. We take a break on Citizen Weekend, but stay tuned.